The next presentation is going to get given by Alex Bals, representing Esri South Africa, our partner. Alex is a senior figure in the mining sector in South Africa, in mine technical systems, surveying, and now he consults to various companies, and it's great to have you here, Alex, to give your perspectives. Thanks.
Thank you, Bill. Good morning, all. It's a pleasure to be here and to spend 10 minutes talking about what's going to be very simple, mining. I was asked not to focus on the systems, but rather on the reason for the systems to be implemented and why it makes sense for a mining company to do so. So I'm going to be speaking as a miner. In a previous life, I looked after business planning for a large gold miner. We went through many of these justifications, and we always had to promise value on return on investment. So, furthermore, to start off with, I would like to quote Professor Cuthbert Muzingwiri from Wits University, who says that if you cannot grow it, you must mine it. Mining remains important to us, and it will, for a very long time, remain very important to us. So let's carry on. A user case from Pakistan and Mongolia, kindly provided by Dr. Ikra Atif. She made an effort to quantify what she believed was the value of a formal cadastre. As you can see, there has been an uptake after 2001 in the amount of licenses processed. They claim that after 2011, there is additional value being added in the mining industry, but that's really a little bit of a confusion because Rio Tinto's Oyu Tolgoi mine came online, which is one of the largest copper mines currently in production in the world. But Pakistan believes that their cadastral system is adding a lot of value to their economy. The next is a busy slide, and I apologize for it, but I'm trying to show you the mining life cycle. We've spoken about permitting, we've spoken about licensing, but it starts with targeting. We want to hunt elephants in elephant country, right? So we target where we might want to be. We then ask for permitting to get in there. We do some reconnaissance that normally involves a lot of geological work. It then starts involving geophysics. And then we get through a process of continuous permitting, isn't it? Permitting. We apply for reconnaissance licenses, prospecting licenses, all sorts of things. This is a program, this is a very permit-intensive process. And then when something looks good, we start poking holes in the earth using drill rigs, and we gather physical samples for analysis. The value point here is data. What comes out of here is a lot of data that needs to be interpreted. Should it be a useful and promising set of data, we would go to a scoping study, ultimately off to a pre-feasibility study, feasibility study, and at the end of a feasibility study, we have something that's called mineral resources and reserves. This is the first time we can take something to a stock exchange and declare value. So these are very important steps. They normally take a long time. And finally, we have a competent persons report, which is basically a peer-reviewed report of geological and economical opinion. The value that's created in this process is intellectual property. This can be sold. So the green bars, the green activities, the geological activities only carry value because the data can be sold, and it's normally sold at a multiple of sunk cost. The process below that, which goes to a CPR, can be sold on the basis of a discounted cash flow. This is the first time you can actually value the life of a mine. and it can be sold at a discounted cash flow. This is where the real value is added, and it's intellectual property. Should the stage gate be released, we go to designing, building. This is an engineering process. And the only valuable commodity here is time. The sooner you do it, the sooner you get a mine into production. Mining is almost always revenue sensitive. So it's not flexible in terms of time. It is not sensitive to time. In fact, what you want to do is often, if you fall behind in a program, you throw money at it just to get that first production coming out of your plant. This is value, here is time. Then you start operating. This could be hundreds of years. You know, there's a mine in Ghana that's existed since King Solomon. It's been mined for so long. We have here in South Africa, we have the Cullinan Diamond Mine, 120 years old now. And mines go through life cycles. You know, they'll build up and they have the first horizon and they slow down and then they get sold and somebody else will build it up again. So this happens multiple times and value is created by cash flow. The operating word is here is a word that the minister also used, efficiency. Here, value is created through efficiency. $1 a ton. The lower the $1 a ton operating cost, the more money you make. And then finally, at end of life, what happens then? Well, you repurpose the asset, isn't it? You sell it. That is the first prize. You make it somebody else's problem. Or create opportunity for the next player. You know, some mines, I'm doing a project, a gold project at the moment. It's had 5 owners in the last 30 years. And each new owner sees value. That's why they invest. Alternatively, you're in closure mode. You have to repurpose that mine for another purpose. It either you rehabilitate it or you create another purpose. There are mines in the west coast of South Africa where we didn't fill the dragline trenches. Instead, we repurposed it and we're growing oysters in those trenches now. So what is a scar on the landscape is now an economic opportunity. If you eat oysters here in South Africa, in the Cape, it's likely to come from that west coast. Let's go to public funding. And this is also a busy slide, but what I'm saying here is competent persons reports lead to a listing, a requirement for a listing on a stock exchange. Now, I'm quoting the JSE here because I do some work for them. All the red bars are the reasons why a competent persons report is rejected, which means a company cannot raise money on the stock exchange. And I've only highlighted those where a good cadastral system can help, or good spatial systems can help. And the key findings are that diagrams are woefully inadequate, generally speaking. Property ownership is badly recorded. The property history is not narrated adequately. Drilling results are misrepresented or plain wrong. Sampling data and analysis, the QA/QC, is not presented. And then typically data management is poorly done. If you cannot show repeatability in the way that you present your data, you'll not get a competent persons report accepted by the readers panel on the various stock exchanges. Let's go through an investment profile for a typical project. And here I've taken Rio Tinto's Oyu Tolgoi deposit in Mongolia, very nice copper deposit. You'll see that between 1999 and 2003-04, it is all speculative investment, right? This is little bits of money coming a small explorer's way that then basically hope to prove promising results. Then the results start coming, drilling program starts making some progress, and now more institutionalized investors come in. That's the second wave of investment. And then finally, when it really looks nice, when something concrete starts coming out and a competent persons report is issued, then the institutional investors come in, the banks, the investment houses, government investments. they start taking an interest, and you'll see that in 2009 till production, the average investment in this particular deposit was about $20 million a year for proving up the deposit. Capital budgets. This used to be the bane of my life for a while, looking after these projects, but here is a 3-year profile for a gold mining company, and it asks for $1.5 billion over the 3 years to be spent. And on the various activities, you'll see there's stay in business capital, which is to keep the machine going, turnaround work, which is bringing sick mines back to health again. But then we look at the growth projects. This is new work. This is the result of exploration and drilling and studies. And this is now projects. That is 43% of all the capital that is required. This is where we need data most. This is where we need project management most. This is where we need spatial systems. It's a very large part of the capital request. And we mustn't underestimate how well we must manage this. It's a lot of money, and it must generate new mines. Here's another scenario. The difference between obtaining a mining right or not in an operating mine. This is a mine that's operating, but there's an opportunity right next door. We need a mining right to get this. So the blue line is if the mining right gets granted. The red line is if the mining right does not get granted. Or if the delay in the mining rights. This could be a 2-year delay. In this particular project, if there was a 2-year delay, we'd lost the adjacency. We would have moved our operations further away, and we've missed the boat. Now, this is approximately a difference of cash flow of about $400 million a year, one mine. It's significant. And that is why efficiency in granting or processing a mining right is so important, because time is not your friend here. In projects, time is not your friend. And I'm going to close with, because I only have 3 minutes left, I'm going to close with something that is very late in the value chain. Remember when I said we need to repurpose a mine? And this is a mine that's now also 150 years old. It's Jagersfontein. Now, Jagersfontein is known for fantastic diamonds. It's also known for a very large failure, Slimes Dam failure last year. And it's been operated by De Beers for life. There has been no other operator in that pit. The pit is actually the largest hand-dug hole in the world. It's not Kimberley Pit. It is actually Jagersfontein, hand-dug, the biggest hole in the ground in the world. Now, this has changed ownership a number of times. So De Beers has got rid of it in about 2011, after reprocessing started, the reprocessing of the tailings dumps. What happened then next was that this is a failure. What you see here is a plume about just under 10 kilometers long. It's about 1 kilometer wide. It happened late last year. Rain was blamed, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. We're thinking about Richard Spoor as a well-known attorney over here. He's wetting his pencil. He's writing a court case, a nice class action suit for the damages that the community suffered here. But what happened? This is the importance of having spatial data available, historical spatial data, because you have to reconstruct history sometimes. Because what happened? In the media, the first statement government made was, according to their records, De Beers was the last operator. Well, that was in 1972. So it's an inaccurate statement. In fact, it's an incorrect statement. What was happening is De Beers was the holder of a prospecting right until 2002. And then the mining right was given over to the community in terms of the social upliftment scheme. And it was the Jagersfontein development community that operated it and farmed it out to a small operator called Sun Up. And the reality is that we can see from these two scenarios that from 2017, when the operator was granted a license on the right-hand side, to 2020, the tailings dump had increased markedly, big growth, and in fact, faster growth than the footprint could allow. So we wouldn't have evaporation on a scale large enough to actually keep this dam dry. So what we have here is probably an operational issue, fairly recently, and this spatial data allows a large company such as De Beers to defend its reputation in a court of law. So with that, I'm on my last 10 seconds. I thank you for your attention, and I hope that I've managed to illustrate how mining can benefit from these systems. Thank you.